Hey everyone, I'm Hewy. What happened to all the color? Oh wait, I think I know why. It's because of the third film I'm reviewing for the Halloween season. But first, a little background info before we get into the main review. In 1818, 21-year-old English novelist Mary Shelley had written and published the classic Gothic horror novel Frankenstein, or the Modern Prometheus. It told the story of a scientist who created his own living human being out of sewn-together body parts he had stolen from the recently buried deceased and brought them to life through electricity. However, when most people think of Frankenstein, they immediately think of the 1931 Universal Studios horror film starring Boris Karloff, which is considered one of the best horror films of all time.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! In the name of God! Now I know what it feels like to be God!
But there was also the 1910 silent adaptation by Thomas Edison, the many Hammer Studios sequels during the 50s, 60s, and 70s, Young Frankenstein by Mel Brooks in 1973, and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein by Kenneth Branagh in 1994. Heck, the novel has also been the inspiration for countless films and stories such as Reanimator by H.P. Lovecraft, The Rocky Horror Picture Show, Weird Science, even Edward Scissorhands by Tim Burton has many references to the Frankenstein story. And on the topic of Tim Burton, he has recently released the final animated film for the Halloween season. So let's get on with it. Released on October 5th, 2012, the movie is Frankenweenie. You know the drill, new movie, still in theaters, won't spoil the ending, yada yada yada. So, on to the review. Young Victor Frankenstein conducts a science experiment to bring his beloved dog Sparky back to life after being hit by a car, only to face the unintended, sometimes monstrous consequences when all of his friends find out and try to recreate his experiment. So, what did I think of this movie? Well, let's just say that out of all 3 Halloween-themed films that have come out this year, this has got to be the absolute best out of all of them. On a scale from 3 to 1, it would be Hotel Transylvania at 3, Paranorman at 2, and Frankenweenie at the very top. But to get a better understanding as to why I love this movie, let's move on to trivia time. Tim Burton has done multiple adaptations in the past. He's adapted books, television shows, comics, old movies, real people, and even trading cards. Heck, Frankenweenie itself is a remake to one of Tim Burton's own movies. Back in the early 1980s, Burton was an animator for Disney, who worked on The Fox and the Hound, and also provided unused concept art for The Black Cauldron. After directing the stop-motion animated short Vincent, he wanted to make another stop-motion short with Frankenweenie. However, it instead ended up being a live-action short starring the likes of Shelley Duvall, Daniel Stern, and a young Sofia Coppola. After completing it, Disney thought the movie was a waste of company resources and fired Burton. One person who was able to see it was Paul Rubens, who loved it and hired him to direct Pee-wee's Big Adventure, which would be Burton's first big hit and launch his successful career as a live-action filmmaker. However, he still longed to go back and make a stop-motion version of Frankenweenie. Finally, he got the chance when Disney asked Burton to direct Alice in Wonderland, and he agreed, on the condition that he could then make Frankenweenie. In a way, this proved to be one of his most personal films. Much like Victor, Burton was a bit of an outcast in his own world, creating little home movies and watching classic monster flicks on TV and at the movie theater. In fact, Frankenweenie is one big homage to monster movies, from the decision to film it in black and white, to the little touches like the neighbor dog's hair looking like the bride of Frankenstein's monster. The entire third act especially enforces this, but I dare not spoil it for you. Even most of the town's people are derived from classic horror creations and actors. As for the stop-motion animation itself, it's some of the best I've ever seen. In fact, in some parts, the animation is so smooth I could have sworn it was computer animation. So, now that we're done with trivia time, let's move on to the voice actors who brought each character to life. For the casting, Burton went back to some of his collaborators to provide voices. Though shockingly, this is his first movie since Mars Attacks to have neither Johnny Depp nor Helena Bonham Carter. A Tim Burton film without Johnny Depp or Helena Bonham Carter? Blasphemy! 2 SCTV cast members provide 3 voices apiece. Catherine O'Hara, who is the voice of Sally in The Nightmare Before Christmas, plays Victor's mother, the weird girl, and the school's gym teacher. Martin Short, who is also in Mars Attacks, plays the roles of Victor's father, the town's mayor, Mr. Burgermeister, and the Boris Karloff-like Nasor. Martin Landau, who played Bela Lugosi in Ed Wood, brings a dash of Lugosi to Victor's science teacher, who was also inspired by Burton's old friend and inspiration Vincent Price. And then there's Winona Ryder, who appeared in Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, playing the girl next door, Elsa Van Helsing. And believe me when I say I've only mentioned a fraction of the monster movie homages featured in Frankenweenie. And now for my final thoughts on the film. Overall, Frankenweenie is by far the best animated movie of the 2012 Halloween season and one of Tim Burton's finest pieces of work. It has superb stop-motion animation, a ton of memorable and relatable characters, good amounts of subtle humor, and the musical score by Danny Elfman is top-notch. It's a loving tribute to the classic monster movies of old, such as Frankenstein, Dracula, The Invisible Man, Gremlins, even Japanese giant monster movies. But I know what you're all asking. Is it better than the 1984 original short film? Well, yeah, but just barely. Heck, if you've seen that movie before this one, you can already predict how the ending will be. But even so, that still doesn't spoil any of the fun the film has to offer. It will make you laugh, scream, and even cry. And it is for those very reasons why I award Frankenweenie with a perfect rating of 5 gold stars. I know I'll be first in line when it's released to Blu-ray in January. And so concludes my 3-part Halloween special. I hope you've all enjoyed hearing my thoughts on each film and have enjoyed them as much as I did during this haunting season. So be sure to join me for my next review. Until then, this is Hewy Tumor saying, see the movies. Anime movies, that is. Oh, and Happy Halloween.